Should we be concerned about Travis Hunter's health? I do owe Prairie View an apology. And also, let's take a look at the NCAA's top 5 HBCUs. Oh yeah, it's Locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked on HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked on HBCU podcast, your number one. Daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked on HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off, and it will cut off, it does not mean that the journey is over. It just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. You can read it right there in that lower third. But let's get into a question that I think is kind of important for fans. I have the answer, in my opinion, right? But I think it's kind of important for fans specifically of Jackson State. And that's the question of, should we be concerned about Travis Hunter's health? I want to get a little bit of a gauge, right? Are we in DEFCON? Like, we need to push the panic button. Are we in the red? Are we yellow? Are we green? Where everything's just cool. We gotta break all of that down. So Travis Hunter has been ruled out of Saturday's game versus Grambling already. He's been ruled out of that game. So far, Hunter's played in one game in his collegiate career, and he looked pretty good. He lived up to the hype, I would say, pretty much immediately. You know, he came out against FAMU, and within the first 3 plays, they tested him, had a pass breakup, a flag denied that call. Not on him, of course, but just a flag. I don't even think the play counted, to be honest. But it was a pass deflection. We saw him 2 more times, and he made plays on the ball. We did not see Travis Hunter often in that Florida A&M game, but that's because he was able to instill a certain level of fear in these guys. And I think that was the perfect showcase for the first game. Like, this is the first time we ever seen Travis Hunter, and he's already being avoided. Only tested not even a handful of times. A great showing. Against Tennessee State, we barely saw Travis Hunter again. And against Grambling, we're not going to see Travis Hunter again. The only difference is, in the first game, we didn't see him because they weren't targeting him. In the second and third game, we're not going to see him because he's injured. And now there comes the true question. Should we be concerned about the injury? I'm going to break down a little bit of the history of these injuries with Travis Hunter. I will tell you when I am actually passing an answer to the question of, should we be concerned? Since Travis Hunter has committed and enrolled at Jackson State, he's had some injury issues, right? So he made it all the way through spring camp, no injuries. But then we see him, because we pay attention during spring camp. We're seeing all the clips and everything. But then we get to the spring or the SWAC media day, and now he's in a boot. All right, now that's a little bit concerning. Why is he in a boot? I haven't really heard much about this, but why is he in a boot? He's all right. He'll play in the Orange Blossom Classic. He should be good to go for week 1. Week 1 comes around. There's questions if he's going to be good, but he plays. And when he plays, chef kiss, loves it. It looks amazing. But then week 2 comes around, right after the game, they got, I think, pictures of him with ice on his feet. All right, so you're still in pain. Week 2, you don't play. Week 3, you don't play. Travis Hunter, from visual, has been injured more than he's been healthy in his collegiate career. Now let's get right into the question. Should we be concerned? Nah. My concern level is in the green. It's low. I'm thumbs up, and injuries happen. It's football. I think it sucks that it had to happen at the onset of his career, right? We were able to see what he was, but overall, it happened so early, man. But the one game he played, he lived up to the hype, so you don't have to question that part of things. But because he's been out so I don't want to say frequently because it's only been 2 games. I think that he's only played 1 and he's a freshman coming in with so much hype, so it could lead you to overreact. I want to tell you, do not overreact about Travis Hunter's injury, all right? It does not seem to be something that's going to persist, and Jackson State is handling it perfectly. They're doing everything they need to do to make sure that they are protecting their investment, which was the #1 overall recruit in the nation. This is smart business by Jackson State. Do not be concerned that he's missed 2 games already. I do have a very optimistic tone. I feel like I sound pretty optimistic. And I want to draw a line because it's not the same as D Davis, right? So we're in the green, but the concern is a little bit higher. Or excuse me, I think the injury severity is different. There's no reason to be concerned because it happens. You're like, this is not something that's going to impact Travis Hunter in 2023. I don't think it's that. It doesn't sound like that kind of injury. If it was, he wouldn't have played against FAMU. D Davis, he didn't play because he was going against a D2 team, and you felt like you have another starting quarterback in Miles Crawley, and then you're going against UCLA, a game that you're probably not going to win. This is a risk outweighing the reward type situation. Travis Hunter sat out a game against Tennessee State, a high-level FCS HBCU team, and then also is now sitting out and that's a rival game. Now he's about to sit out a conference game. So he is actually hurt, right? But let's read off what Deion Sanders had to say about sitting him against Grambling. He said he's not playing. We're going to play him when he's healthy and he's ready. We want you to see all of Travis, the offensive guy, defensive guy, special teams guy. We want you to see all of him. Now, that does explain why he didn't play offense against FAMU. I thought it was just because they were blowing him out and maybe they planned on getting him into the game plan later, but they didn't. That's not the case. The case is that he just is not healthy enough. They even mentioned how he was only 60% in that game. Now, continue what Sanders said. He said, I don't want to just ease him in game by game or in bits and pieces. That's not fair to Travis's health or future whatsoever, and he's completely correct. They say that the best ability is availability. All right, I've heard the cliche, and if that's #1, something that's pretty high, I got a couple other abilities, sustainability and capabilities. Look, you're not doing much in this game if you're not capable. If you don't have the capabilities and the talent to be able to achieve a certain level, you're not getting it done. And sustainability is right there. It's the cousin of availability because you want to be able to continue doing your thing for a long period of time. By keeping Travis Hunter out, kind of taking away his availability, you are now going to increase his capability because he's going to come back at 100%, right? Instead of starting off at 60 and continue going down as the season goes and he takes more bangings. And also he's going to be more sustainable because you're having him going in at it's like Mortal Kombat or any other fight game. You know, your bar is all the way here. As you keep working down, you used to have those games where it was 3 fighters, right? And you may take out the first guy, but he took out 70% of your health. Well, you're not going to get that 70% back. Now you're only working with 30 through the next fight. In every fight, your health is going to go down. That's Travis Hunter. Why are you going to already start him with 40% of his health down? It just does not make sense, right? I think that they're doing a great job protecting their investment. It's extremely smart. They're able to do this because and most importantly, they care for the player, but then also they have extreme depth to where they don't ever have to feel pressed about Travis Hunter getting in. They believe in their defensive backs. So you care for the player. I think that Deion sees a lot of himself in Travis. If you're around a large group, man, you're going to have your favorites. I think that Hunter is one of Sanders' favorites. That's just my personal opinion. I think that they are doing this the right way. They're definitely doing this the right way and making sure that he doesn't get hurt, or he doesn't get put in a position to be hurt even worse. Because let's be honest, could you imagine the media firestorm around all HBCUs if Travis Hunter were to get hurt? That's why HBCUs don't need no good things. He was already hurt and you put him in harm's way more. This ain't just Jackson State. This everybody. That doesn't matter, but I can only imagine hearing it. Like, there's no way to titivate that situation. It doesn't matter what kind of a spin your PR tries to put on it. They gonna attack that 100%. There's no making that look better. So I think they're doing the right thing. And screw the media firestorm. They're doing the right thing for Travis Hunter. Jackson State is handling that kid well. Now going forward, we're going to be talking about another team in the SWAC, and that is Prairie View, because I'm going to have to humble myself. I'm going to have to give them an apology. I had to swallow my pride. I'm going to have to give an apology to my alma mater's rival, Prairie View A&M. But before we get into that, we are going to talk about BetOnline. Now, who was putting money down on that Broncos game? Listen, I recorded the last episode in the middle of that game and came back to it. That was a tough one. I don't know what was going on, but if you put your money down, you either made a lot of money on Geno Smith or you might have lost a lot of money on, I'm going to say Nathaniel Hackett, all right? Because I don't know what that was. But NFL season is in full effect. You can breathe. You can exhale calmly. You don't have to worry about what your weekends are going to look like for the next 4 months. And when you're doing 5 months, because you got the playoffs. And when you're worrying about, what game am I going to watch? Need to go to BetOnline and worry about what game you're going to bet on, because they're going to give you information to make sure that you're making the smartest bets for yourself. They're going to give you the information that makes you feel like, I am an expert. I can bet on this game confidently. That's my favorite thing about them, in addition to the versatility of having football, basketball, baseball, combat sports, and everything in between. That's why I consider them the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. As we keep on rolling on today's episode of Locked on HBCU, I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day every day, and making us a part of your daily routine makes me feel so special. So thank you. Truly. Now, today's word of the day is titivate, and it means to make someone or something neater or more attractive. There was no way to titivate the idea of putting the number one recruit in the nation out on the field already injured and an injury getting better. No, there's no way to make that situation look better. I'm glad that Travis Hunter and Jackson State have come to the agreement not to do it. Now, with that being said, I took the break to go ahead and eat a little bit of humble pie. I took the opportunity to get some water and to wash down my pride when I tried to swallow it. I'm here to apologize to the stinking Prairie View A&M Panthers. I wrote them off. I did not include them in the SWAC West contenders, and through 2 weeks of action, it appears that I was wrong. This isn't my list, or this isn't my time to say that Prairie View should be the favorites, but I did have a segment about, I think maybe like 2 months ago, maybe right around SWAC Media Day. I had this segment where I said basically the impact of Eric Dooley cannot be understated, and I still think that's true. There's a reason why people predict Southern to, really take a nice uptick and win the SWAC West this year. But I think I might have overestimated how much Prairie View was going to just fall apart and dismantle with Eric Dooley gone. And like Fat Joe, I leaned back on tradition. I looked at Alcorn. They've been in the SWAC championship basically every year until last year. Grambling and Southern, they were alternating SWAC championship appearances until last year. So now I'm sitting there like, these teams going to get right. They got Dooley. I can always trust McNair. Hugh got them boys riled up in North Louisiana. I think I can count on these teams to be those guys. And I still think that to be true. However, where I failed and where I messed up was acting as if it was only a trio when it should have been a quartet, right? Evolution. 4 members. Yeah, I had to count real quick. The 4 horsemen, right? These are members that have, or groups that have 4 members. I've been sitting here treating it like it was the Shield, when really it was the 4 horsemen, and Prairie View has shown through the first 2 weeks why they are a team that you should consider a true threat to win the SWAC West. So I haven't said it. I apologize, Prairie View, for counting you out and acting like the sky was falling just because you lost your head coach. That is clearly not the case. Prairie View A&M can pass the ball. I know it sounds like such a low bar right? But when you look at last week for Prairie View, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, week 1 for Prairie View, they faced Texas Southern and they completed not a single pass. Not a one. They attempted 6 passes. 2 got intercepted. 1 was by the backup quarterback, by the way, just so we get that out the way. But they didn't complete a single pass, and they still beat Texas Southern. Not only did they beat Texas Southern, they beat down Texas Southern. They beat them by 3 scores and never completed a pass. As an alum, that had me frustrated. And I could look at my side of things and say, TSU, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. But if we just look on the other side, beating a team and never completing a pass is domination because everybody in the building knew you were running that rock. And they still could not stop them. And it's not as if it was a defensive performance where there were short fields all the time. No, the defense is good, but they weren't just giving short fields all the time. Out of the 7 times that Prairie View scored, they had to drive 60 or more yards 5 times, and they never completed a pass. Never. That's domination. Now, I felt embarrassed on that side. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, dang, no completions, and that's how we gave it up. But it is what it is, right? But I had the question: did they not complete a pass and not attempt many passes because they couldn't pass, or because they simply did not need to pass? That's different. If you're just like, well, I'm running it down their throat, everybody know I'm running, and they're not stopping it. I don't need to throw. All right, cool. And the conditions were terrible. They weren't good conditions at Prairie View that day. It was really rainy. The ESPN broadcast couldn't even stay in because of the weather. That's how bad it was, right? So I had to see. And against Abilene Christian, they proved very soon, Trazon Connley, yeah, Connley can throw. All right, he made some throws that I said, oh, you thread the needle right there. That was some real good ball placement right there. You can throw the ball. Right? I mean, I think the offense kind of got a little stagnant after a while, but he made throws that gave me confidence that if I needed him to make throws, he would make those throws. And that's what I needed against Abilene Christian. So I think they should have won that game. I'll be honest with you. If I didn't know I was going to come on Monday and talk about the Southern Heritage Classic, I would have diverted all of my attention over to that Prairie View Abilene Christian game. I genuinely felt like that was a good game that Abilene Christian was supposed to lose. Like, I think there was a key moment. I don't want to say that Abilene Christian didn't beat Prairie View, but I do think there was a key moment that Prairie View, they messed up with a decision, right? I did not agree with the decision to go for it on 4th down. I would have kicked the field goal. I don't think that was the right call. It wasn't as wrong as wasting 40 seconds of clock to kick a 64-yard field goal with a kicker who's never made it past 62. It wasn't that bad. I mean, I don't know what that guy was thinking, right? But this guy, Coach Prairie View, I felt like he was trying to steal all the momentum, and I get it. I'll tell you the truth. If I was a coach, I'd be conservative. I don't think that I'm the guy who's going to be taking a lot of risks. So maybe that's where this comes from. But when I look at that decision, you're up 6 points. I think you're supposed to kick it and go up 9. Neither team had momentum. They were just looking at the momentum in the middle of the field like somebody's got to grab it. And for the first time in a couple of drives, Prairie View got close to grabbing it. And I think that they should have just kicked it. And it felt to me that when they didn't get that, that was it for them. The momentum was gone from their offense. I don't know if it hit Abilene Christian right away because the defense did force another stop that was really good. But then after one stop, Abilene came in touchdown. I believe that if you go in and you score 9 points up, I think that Abilene, that might take a little hard from them because they weren't scoring. They were not scoring. The defense has been a constant for Prairie View. Texas Southern was running too. Not getting much. You know, you look at the 23 points they scored, 6 of them came from a pick 6, right? They missed the field goal or the extra point, so it was only 6 points. But overall, the defense played well. They stopped the run well, and there's some good runners, right? They got 2 good running backs, and Andrew Body is a pretty good runner, and they didn't really get much traction against Prairie View. Then you look at this game against ACU, they forced the quarterback into 3 interceptions, and guess what? He didn't have 3 interceptions the week before. He wasn't that turnover prone the week before. And one of those interceptions put them into really good scoring position before halftime as well. So I've seen that the defense can get it done through the air. I've seen the defense can get it done on the ground. In the same way about the offense, they can definitely run. Even when Prairie View was telegraphing the fact they were going to run, Texas Southern still couldn't stop them. And I thought that Trazon Connley had a couple of good throws in this game that gave me the feel like, okay, I can orchestrate a drive with him, and he's really good with his legs. This feels like a complete team that, if you don't feel the way I feel about Texas Southern, I still think there's talent on that team. You might think I'm rushing a judgment about Prairie View, but I do feel that way about Texas Southern. So with that being the case, it looks as if the Panthers are a complete team, and instead of it being a trio with Alcorn, Grambling, and Southern, you got to throw one more finger up and say it's a quartet, because Prairie View is at least going to contend and make some noise within this SWAC West, Eric Dooley or no Eric Dooley. As we're wrapping up the episode, we are going to talk about the NCAA's top 5 HBCU list. They themselves gave out who they think the top 5 is. I'm going to break down how their list is orchestrated, and then also what it means as far as up, down, who jumped, who fell. All of those things are going to be discussed as we continue with Locked On HBCU. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I want to talk about the NCAA's top 5 HBCU list. It's really top 21. They list everybody from 1 to 21, but I ain't going that far, all right? If I was listing every single team, I would either be giving no analysis and just listing people out, or I'd be here for the full episode. So I'm thinking if I want to incorporate this during the week at times, I don't know. Maybe I'll do it occasionally, just a little update. But I do think it's interesting to see what the NCAA themselves feel about each HBCU. So in this list, they're going to give where they rank, of course. They're also going to give their rank from the previous week, and then also a little bit of explanation on why they are where they are today. I didn't see one for the preseason. I was able to see one after week 1, so going into week 2, and then also after this week's action or last week's action going into this week. So I'll break down today's, like the most recent one, but then I'll give the previous ranking. So to my knowledge, that's the only one I've seen. Before we get into that, though, let's talk about the biggest risers. Y'all thought I was about to give you another ad, huh? No. All right. But I want to talk about the biggest risers and also the biggest fallers within this list. I'm looking at Grambling State. They're up 4. And that's after a really impressive performance against Northwestern where, yeah, they might have struggled week 1, but they definitely bounced back in a major way, and it led to them jumping up 4. I think this is about the performance they put on the field. Arkansas Pine Bluff, who put up, I think, over 75 points. Crazy. Hampton, 2-0. Prairie View, who we just talked about, they might have lost, but like I said, I think it was a strong showing. They all jumped 3, those 3 teams, Pine Bluff, Hampton, and Prairie View. North Carolina A&T is the biggest faller. They have actually the biggest movement amongst anybody, and that's 5. But they went on the negative side, and they lost to Central. And then also, I think they might have been right outside the top 5. Before that, they might have been like 8-ish, I think. I'm just going off the top of my head. I can't remember because they're not a part of this top 5 anymore. But North Carolina A&T, when they lost to North Dakota State, they lost bad, and they went down 5 spots. Now, here's one that I really do not agree with. I do not agree with this one here. Alcorn State going down 3. They got blown out by Tulane, but they looked really good against Stephen F. Austin. I'll let you guess which one is closer to the competition they're going to face on a regular basis. I'll let you guess if they were second in the division or second in the conference, and got a bid to the playoffs, what level of team that they'll be playing. It ain't going to be Tulane. It's not. Maybe once you get up, you might want to say the top tier FCS teams might be able to knock off Tulane, but a lot of them aren't. You know, let's not knock them too much for losing. An FBS loss, in my opinion, an FBS loss should not knock you down 3. And I will mention that later because there's some teams that crept into the top 5 because Alcorn got knocked down 3 spots. And I'm just not a fan of. I don't agree with that. But let's get into the list, and where it starts is with Jackson State. They're number one. They were number one the week before. They came out, another really good win, another dominant defensive performance. The offense had some self-inflicted wounds you likely want to clean up. But overall, really good victory against Tennessee State. Can't knock them for that. And they also mentioned Niles Gaddy. I'm very happy that they mentioned how dominant Niles Gaddy was. Nearly 9 disruptive plays in the game. Wow. I love that. Then South Carolina State comes in at number 2. You see, they didn't get knocked for losing to UCF. They didn't get knocked for that. They came out and they handled up on Bethune-Cookman. They were 2 last week. They're 2 this week. Now, granted, they are the champs, and I don't believe in treating everybody equal means treating everybody fair when you're talking about these type of lists. No, you have a certain level of history. You were the champs. These teams are a rebounding team, so they deserve a little bit of preferential treatment. Sorry. When we're making this list, I don't believe in, I believe fairness is fairness, and it's not always everything is equal in these things right here. Then you go to North Carolina Central. They're number 3. They were number 3 last week. They 2-0. They've knocked off two of their in-state rivals in the HBCU ranks with North Carolina A&T and then Winston-Salem State. And when you're really thinking about it, when you're really getting into it, these are the top 3 teams. We might have thought it was FAMU. That's why I can't remember where FAMU was. But when you look at FAMU, they're not there right now. They're not. Right now, the top 3 teams are Central, South Carolina State, and then Jackson State. I think Central looks really, really good. And I would not be shocked if soon you see Central even jump South Carolina State, because like I have mentioned, they have gotten top 25 votes. I saw them on the list. I do not remember seeing South Carolina State. And these publications are pretty close, right? Like, you can find the FCS top 25 on ncaa.org. So they are very close. Then we're going to get into number 4, and that's Southern. Southern got beat pretty bad by LSU, right? And it wasn't relatively close. LSU is better than Tulane, right? So, I mean, you might give them a little bit of a pass. But Alcorn going down 3 spots knocked them up. They were 5 last week. They're 4 this week. And it's all because Alcorn dropped. If in my opinion, that should just be a squash. That's just me. I think Alcorn may be a swap, because they did show a little bit more life. They got, I think they got a pick 6 at the end of the game. So there was a little bit more life on Southern. Just a simple swap. Let Southern go to 4. Let Alcorn drop to 5, maybe. Instead, they have Tennessee State at 5. And I'm not mad about it, right? Like, if you take out Alcorn in the conversation, because maybe I just value Alcorn's near victory against Stephen F. Austin a little bit more than NCAA. Clearly, that's the case. But at the same time, Tennessee State, they've gone against 2 really high-level FCS teams. They played each relatively close. That Jackson State game, you got to get the offense going against Eastern Washington. You got to get the offense a little bit more consistent. There's some questions there. But they played 2 high-level FCS opponents. Take out the HBCU, just high-level FCS, right? We're not just talking about Jackson State being number 1 here. Jackson State is a borderline top 10 team in the FCS right now. It's a quality team, and they were still relatively close with them. So they're getting points for being close, but no cigar. But let's be honest. They're also here because Alcorn dropped. Alcorn was 4. They dropped below Southern, Tennessee State, and then also Prairie View. All 3 of those teams lost. Period. So I'm not a fan of Alcorn dropping down 3 spots. I know it is what it is, but I personally would have maybe dropped them down 1. I don't think I even would have dropped them below Tennessee State. Yeah, I don't know. I find it difficult to push up these 2 teams when they didn't have the best of showings either, and Alcorn has to drop 3 spots. I'll leave it there. I won't complain about it any longer. We might make this more of a routine through the week. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. Am I tripping on Alcorn? Right? Am I tripping on Alcorn? And I apologize for yesterday not actually adding a question. I had a brain fart and I completely forgot what it was, and I forgot to do it. I will try my best to do something today. Matter of fact, I'll make a note to just ask, is Prairie View in the SWAC West contender conversation? So I'll make a note to ask that right at the end of this. But I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day every day and always sitting here and listening through some of my brain farts. So I appreciate that, guys. You are absolutely phenomenal. On tomorrow's episode, we're going to talk about some of our other game of the weeks that just did not make the cut for the numero uno. That accent was kind of trash. Anyway, for the number one game of the week, make sure you guys are checking out our conference shows for your second listen of the day. Locked on ACC, Locked on SEC, Pac-12, and then also we have new Sun Belt. So shout out to them as well. They're doing it big over there, man. In the meantime, in between time, you can catch up with me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Until the next time that we hear each other, family, I'm just having fun, man. Peace.